What is up, guys? We're going to be taking a look at this lab, source code disclosure via backup files. The solution to this lab starts off with some root enumeration. So we may crawl the site to find all of the available routes. We may look for some hidden routes, for example. And one of the ways or methods that can be used to enumerate routes is to see if there's the existence of robots.txt file. The idea behind robots.txt is it tells bots which directories they are not allowed to crawl. So you can see here, for example, it says disallow crawling / backup. Now, the first question I had was, well, how does it actually stop the bots from crawling / backup? And the answer is it doesn't. It only stops good bots who look at this and say, okay, I'm not supposed to crawl this directory, so I won't crawl it. But if it's a malicious bot, they can still just crawl the / backup directory anyway. So this is really just a signpost for good bots in terms of what they're allowed to crawl. But it also highlights the existence of a specific route. Maybe / backup is not listed on the main page anywhere, so a crawler might not find it. But when we look at robots.txt, it highlights the existence of this route / backup. In other words, although the functionality of robots.txt is really for crawlers, we can actually use it for our route enumeration purposes. We now know there's a route that exists / backup. So the obvious thing to do is check out that route. We see there is a Java file, but it also has extension .back. This is really an indication that this is some sort of backup Java file. It's actually a copy of another Java file. Let's follow that link and we find ourselves looking at some Java code. Without going into a lot of detail, this Java code is connecting to a PostgresQL database. And if we focus on this particular part of the code here, we can see it's making use of connection builder, which is possibly some kind of custom class. It's calling the .from method and it's passing arguments to that. It's fairly obvious based on the names what these arguments are. So we have org.postgresql.driver. That's going to be the driver. We have the flavor of database, PostgreSQL. We have the host, localhost, the port 5432. Postgres, probably the name of the database. We also have Postgres again, probably the name of the user. And then we have a string. Can you guess what that string is? Probably the password to the PostgreSQL database. In other words, this Java file has a hard-coded password, something that shouldn't really do, have hard-coded passwords. We want to be calling that probably from an environment file somewhere. But even if you did have a hard-coded password, so long as you're the only one that ever sees it and it's not pushed to some kind of public repository somewhere, I guess you can get away with it. The obvious problem here is that we were able to access this particular Java file, and hence we can see in plain text the password for the PostgreSQL database. So this is why it's good practice just not to hard code your passwords anyway, because even if you don't plan on showing someone your source code, these things have a tendency to get leaked. Even if you're just posting a screenshot to the internet, for example, and you just forget that you have your passwords hard-coded. So why not just make it a practice of never hard-coding passwords and always calling it in from some kind of environment file? That way, you know that you just have to protect that environment file. Otherwise, you have to keep track of all of the files that are sensitive and have hard-coded passwords. You're probably going to forget which ones you need to protect. So just put all the sensitive information in an environment file. That way you only need to protect one file from being viewed by others. The objective of this lab is to grab this PostgreSQL database password. Let's head to submit solution. Let's paste in the PostgreSQL password and we get the flag. Congratulations, you solved the lab. Key takeaways: don't hard code passwords, and if you do, for whatever reason, don't publicly expose the source code containing those hard coded passwords. All right, hope it was interesting. Thanks for checking out the content, and I'll catch you guys in the next lab.